Hello. Welcome to sunny Boca Raton, Florida. 8 stories above the Chops restaurant. It's May 2nd. Can you believe it? Hello, everybody. Oh, let me turn down my light here. My famous 8-foot by 8-foot studio. Where I have my array of old iPads that were, when you turn in a technology device and upgrade it to a newer version, something that costs, $1,000 becomes $100 in a couple years period of time. So technology depreciates rather rapidly. So that's why I recommend leasing or renting, like with our iPhones. I have this fancy dancy iPhone right here. Instead of paying, $1,600 for an iPhone, AT&T has a plan where you take that $1,600 and AT&T will pay it, provide to you the new phone, and you sign a digital contract that says you will pay them back 1/36 of whatever that price is. So it's about $50. No interest. It's not zero interest, it's no interest. So why shell out $1,600 when you can shell out $50? Keep your powder dry. My daddy always said. Don't spend it if you can install it. Of course, my father was from the old school. If you can't afford it, don't buy it. Which means, when you go into the Cadillac dealership, you write a check for the car. You don't argue with them how much you want to pay for it or anything like that. What's the price on there? Oh. Of course, I'm going back a few years. Oh, $18,327. Okay, who do I make the check out to? My father would whip out the check. My mother says, hold on here a minute. What does that include? So then my mother would get a list of what it all includes, which is pretty much everything. So he writes out the check for $18,000, whatever it is. Yeah. Bought our house out in Long Island, wrote a check. You don't have the money, don't buy it. Forget about mortgage rates. We had a knock on the door when I was 13 years old, and I opened the door, and of course up north you have a door and a storm door, so the storm door is kind of like glass on top and some kind of a panel on the bottom, and then the front door was the opens inward. You open up the door, and then people open up the storm door, and it pulls outwardly. Anyway, so we had a knock on the door, and I'm 13 years old, and there's two gentlemen in suits, So I said, is your Is your parents home? Hold on just 1 minute. So I close my door, the big door, with the big latch. I shut that back up. I go run and get my mother. Dad's obviously gone to work. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. Two guys in suits, one with a briefcase. Mom, they're looking for you or Dad. Well, who are they? Where are they from? And I said, no. Look like they're financial people. They had a briefcase So my mother goes to the door, and what can I do for you, gentlemen? Well, we're looking for our mortgage on your house. Oh, really? I don't think there is a mortgage on the house. That's probably why you can't find it. So apparently, in the whole neighborhood, Manufacturers Hanover Trust Company is looking for a mortgage on this one lot and block number. Doesn't have a mortgage. Oh, the bank is running around. Oh my God, we lost the mortgage. I don't know about the note. How that worked up in New York State. Must have be a note and a mortgage. Couldn't be a loan balance. So my mother says, no, I think your records are correct. There's not a mortgage. I think we wrote a check when we bought the house. 4 years ago, whenever it was. In the early 50s. I'll say 50, 53, 54. I think we moved in here when I was 9 or 10 years old. Moved from Brooklyn, Jamaica Estates. Yep. About 10 streets away from where Trump grew up. And which doesn't mean much. Because back in those days, if you see what Trump's house looked like, the one he grew up in, it was a pretty plain Jane house on 2-story house, on a builder's half acre, which means it's about a third of an acre, because you got to take away the street out front. Anyway, so when I was 9 or 10, we moved out on Long Island, in East Hills, they call it, which is a political district just south of the Roslyn Harbor. Went to Roslyn High School. 1959 to 1963. Yep, and then 63 to 67. Went to Union College. Got a combined degree in Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Science. Majored in biology and majored in chemistry, biochemistry, physical chemistry, organic chemistry, cryptogenic botany. All these names. Yeah. Anyway, so no mortgage on the house where we lived. So you buy your phone at AT&T, or you pick out your phone, which September is the month that Apple has chosen to display its new, they have a product announcement which gets transmitted from the flying saucer shaped building that that the Apple company and Steve Jobs et al. Designed, the Apple campus. So they put on a worldwide telecast describing their new product, the iPhone. A couple other things usually pop up, an iPad, maybe a new iPad Pro. The MacBook computers, that's usually another event later in the year. Later than the first week in September. And then anyway, so they announced the iPhone in the first week in September. And then it's available 7, 8, 9 days later for delivery. And they FedEx, 25 million phones to all the people that, lined up early online to buy the new iPhone. And then they stuffed their stores with, thousands of... I was crazy enough I wrote a story for local newspaper. And it was about, of course, the editor of the paper came to me and said, "Hey, how about writing us a story about, you decide what." How about that? So I figured, okay, the iPhone's coming out, next week. So this is the Observer. Yeah. So the editor and publisher of the paper comes to me and said, how about giving us a nice technology story? I said, okay, here's what it'll be. The iPhone's coming out. It's going to be a big product announcement. So I'll tune into that, and it's going to be delivered on, the release day. They have like a release day, a time and everything. So at 8 a.m. Eastern time, September 9th, I'm making up a story. But so if you want to, you can buy the release day is, they pick the day, they announce it when they do the product announcement. Let's just say it's, Thursday morning at 8 a.m. That's when they'll be available in your local Apple store, or they'll be shipped to your address if you buy it online. So of course you can go online at theapple.com and try to buy it there. And so you have to connect, and of course there are millions of people trying to connect onto this one spot on their website. Anyway, so we're AT&T customers, so I figured, well, so I did so I'm writing the story for the Observer. So I knew what the product was because I listened to the product announcement. It's going to be available, Thursday morning at 8 a.m. So of course the store's in the mall. Yeah, so people started lining up. I heard, the day before. I said, I gotta get online. I tell Marilyn it's like 10 p.m. She's getting ready to go to bed. I said, hey, there's no nighty night for Jimmy. I'm going over to the mall. She says, you're doing what? I said, yeah, the Observer asked me to write a story about the Apple release, and so I hung around until about, I watched the evening news, which was like an an 11 o'clock p.m. broadcast. About 11:30, I said, all right, I guess. So I go refresh myself and bring a little to-go bottle of water. Get in the car and go over to the mall. And of course, I have to drive around the mall because you can't get in the mall. So around, it seems to me it was around 12 o'clock. I'm riding around the mall. I figured, where the hell do you stand online? The last thing you want to do, right, is show up at at midnight and stand at the wrong place, figuring there's some kind of a line for me somewhere. So I went around the mall one time. I couldn't tell, where the hell he's supposed to be. So I did a little internet search, and they said, oh yeah, you got to stand outside this door, and I guess it was the northeast quadrant of the mall property, right around, not the Macy's entrance, but, go clockwise from the Macy's entrance, and then the mall entrance. So, near where the bank buildings are. So I said, okay, so I'm standing, right near the doorways, and there's security people, pushing all, they're like 50 people already online at midnight on the mall. Can't get the phone until 8 a.m. So this is 8 hours early, right? Oh my God. At least it wasn't 2 days. I wouldn't have done that. Forget the tent, being out in the rain. So yeah, they shuffled us off. No, you can't be on the mall property until we open the doors here. You're not allowed to be on the mall property, period. So they backed us up into stepping over hedges, and so we were all like stranded. There was no line formed anywhere, so we were all just hanging around, in the parking lot of one of the bank buildings. So then someone comes out with a bullhorn, an Apple employee, and one of the security guards for the mall, private contracting firm, says that we're going to open, as a special accommodation to Apple, we're going to open this door at 6 a.m. But you all must stay back off the mall property until 6 a.m. And when you see us come back out at 6 a.m., then you can line up at this door, and one by one we'll let you in the door. And single file, you make a right turn and go down around that side. And that's what happens. 6 a.m. By 6 a.m. there's 1,000 people, or a lot of people, and they're all just like hanging. And the 200 of us, I think there were about 200, come to think of it, that got there, at midnight or so. Some of them, I got there at midnight, and there was already, 50 or 100. So then more showed up, and everyone's standing around, and we're talking about what the features will be, and I'm kind of like interviewing these people off camera, just talking to folks and moving around the crowd, and to find out, where they're from. Is this your first iPhone, your third iPhone, or whatever? This is like iPhone 10. So this is like 5 or 6 years ago story. So sure as hell, at 6 o'clock, these two people come out, or a few more people, a couple of Apple people and a security guard. Maybe 4 of them came out the door, and they said, you can form a line right here, and they say when you enter in, you're going to enter in one by one. You're not going to stampede. We're only going to open up one of these doors, and we'll have guards on both sides of the door, and you'll enter the mall, and then you'll make a right turn in an orderly fashion. There'll be no running, there'll be no pushing, no shoving, and we'll commence that right now. So right now is like it was like someone blew a whistle, and all of a sudden everyone just haul asses. I mean, it was a stampede. Oh my God, people got trampled, and I mean, it was ugly, And so I picked up some college student that got pushed over. He goes, we're standing behind a knee-high hedge. People are, they just push you. So they pushed this poor girl right on her face. So I picked her up, helped dust her off, and I said, "Come on, let's go. Just hang in behind me. I'll play guard service for you." So I walked fast. I wasn't gonna run. There were all kinds of people running. I saw some of the FAU reporters. The people that I shoot pictures with on the, on football game day. They're action sports photographers. We were more lifestyles of the rich and famous photographers on field. Had press credentials and all that stuff. Anyway, so we get in the mall, and we orderly walk in the front door. No pushing, no shoving, and somehow there are that crowd of 1,000 or so. I'm guessing, I didn't count noses. Kind of like got themselves in orderly and standing up. About a line that was 2 people wide. Because some people came with the boyfriends, girlfriends, husband, wife, whatever. I came by myself. I said, "Marilyn, the door of the Apple store is going to open at like 8. I think I can get 2. So, when you show up, to the store to buy a phone, you don't have like a pre-sale agreement or, it's not like you bought it in advance and you're going to pick it up. I don't think they had such an option. So then these two, so then at 6 a.m., so, line forms, and it's a line that goes all the way from the Apple store. If you came out of the Apple store, you'd make a left turn and go all the way down that corridor, and then make the, and then turn left to get out of the mall once you see the exit to like the parking lots. That's how, looking the other way, you go in the mall and you make a right turn, from the outside coming in. So anyway, everyone's all lined up, and about 6:30, there's 3 Apple people that come out the front door, and the front door is all lit up. All the rest of the mall is, except for the car lights, it's dark. There's no one in there except for say 10 security people, and these 3 Apple people that came out the front door of the Apple store, which was, I would say, say 100 steps, 300 or 400 feet in front of me. So we can't look inside the Apple store. We're 100 feet away, in line. And so how many people that would be? Like 200 250 people in front of me. The people that ran to the front door. I just refused to run to the front door and be part of the stampede. So, 7:30, I told Marilyn, I said, 7:30, I'm going to text you and tell you when you need to be here at the store. Because she was going to, go to the bank and do her, she's a financial center manager, so she wasn't going to take the day off for an Apple phone, for an iPhone. So I said, all right, well, I'm writing a story. That's why I'm in line. So, So I said, you come here at 8. That's when the store opens. And they'll be letting the people in one by one. Anyway, so it's 6:30. Three people from the Apple store. They come out and they're going down the line, from the front door, coming towards me. And they've got coffee. They're making, would you like cream? Would you like sugar? They get little stirring things. They're giving everybody a fresh cup of coffee. They got this big, tall canister of, coffee they made in the store, apparently. It didn't look like something they picked up from Starbucks. So they had a big kettle, apparently in the back of the Apple store, probably out of their, lounge, employee lounge. And they come down the thing, they got this roller cart, and they got the cups underneath, and this and that, and they got, would you like water? Water or coffee? So I got a bottle of water, and so anyway, they finally come down to me. So they keep going all the way down past me, and then they wheel on back and get another big, thing of coffee, and so everybody got coffee and water. And then about 7:30, 3 or 4 other Apple people come out the front door. Coffee and water people are back in the barn. And now 3 other people come out the front door with another roller cart. But this time they had like shoe boxes. And they're asking the people in line what they want. I want an iPhone. I want it, whatever color you want. And I want, 256 gigabytes of memory. And I would like 2 of them, please. So that was... Yeah. So then they gave me 2 little cards out of the shoebox, and I said, "So what's with the shoebox?" She said, "Well, every one of these cards is an iPhone that we have in the, in a box in the store. We've got a couple of pallets worth of iPhones, and they're all inventoried, as to the storage memory that you want and the color that you would want. And I've handed you, the maximum memory storage and the color black, and you wanted 2 of them. So here that." And I said, "You can see they're about, looks like about 12 phones left of the specification you just mentioned. They had a whole box of these little cards. Now hold on to that now, because you're going to turn that in when you get in the store." I said, "Okay." And she goes, "This is your, it's not an absolute certainty, but we pretty much believe that every card in this box represents an iPhone that's in a carton in the back of the, in the storage area of the store itself, where we, if you came in during any other given day, you'd walk in the store and you'd meet with a person in the store, and you'd want X or Y, and then they go back in the storage area behind the, in the warehouse area of this location, and we'd go get the item. We're pretty good at inventory control around here, so you're pretty much assured of, if you get a card, you're going to be, you're going to get the phone of your choice." So I didn't know if you could get to. So I told Marilyn, I said, come to the store at 8. So that way when they open the front door to the store, you can walk in the store with me. Because they're not going to let you in the store without standing on line. But if I'm here in line, and I've told everybody my wife's coming very soon, so they knew you were coming. So we kind of like had a... So she came in the mall and started walking down the line. Saw me and I was looking for her, so she joined me. I gave her the card, so the people next to me realized that I got the 2 cards. I have one and now she has one. So no one's cutting ahead of anybody. Oh yeah, she just came out of the restroom. Yeah, the restroom in the house. 4 miles away or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. So we got in there and we got our phones and this and that, and Marilyn, she had to leave the phone with me because I'm the one that sets it up. So I said, just bring your phone home like you normally do, and I'll transfer everything over to the new phone. Matter of fact, I'll get everything transferred over except for the phone number. I'll leave your phone active. And then as soon as you come in home, I'll switch the phone number from the old device to the new electronic serial number. That's how they do it. It's all the phones ping into the cell towers. The phone number and the electronic serial number of the device that's married to that phone number. So they call it the ESN, electronic serial number, ESN number. So that's so it was interesting. I wrote a nice story. It was very is well read about what it's like to stand online. From a reporter standpoint and a high technology guy, because I like to stay on top of the technology. Been on the faculty at FAU since 2003, September, October of 2003, I was installed as an adjunct faculty at Florida Atlantic University. I'm adjunct faculty. I remain adjunct faculty. And for those card-carrying, there you go. Oops. Put my credit card back. I went out to dinner last night. There you go. Jimmy Wilson, FAU card. Yeah. Be there or be square. So, had dinner last night with some good friends at Mia Rosebud. What a spectacular place that is. Wow. It's at the 150 building. 150 East Palmetto Park Road. Yeah. 1.5 blocks. Yeah, 1.5 blocks. East of Federal. Well, yeah. On Palmetto Park Road. That's it. My trusty Tesla. Everything's so electronic these days. You don't get a key to the car anymore. You get a credit card, a debit card. It's the exact same size as a credit card or a debit card, but it doesn't. It doesn't have a mag strip. It's a totally different engineering as far as it uses low amplitude radio frequency. It's kind of like what if you have a fob for an elevator or a front door to a office suite. Sometimes they have fobs. A little doodad that yeah. So it's similar design, but a little bit bigger. So if you were to peel away or dissolve, actually, I saw a breakdown of there's a company called iFixit. I'll go there online here right now. So I'm gonna pull down from the center screen. I'm just gonna type iFixit. iFixit. Yeah, repairs and maintenance. And I'm just going to click this arrow right here. We got touchscreen. I'm going to push this right there. This is live television, folks, so don't get cranky on me. This is all, repair, parts, batteries. iFixit shop. So I'm just going to touch the main page for iFixit. And then we can come down here and just look for, let's see, let's pick up Mac, PC. I'm going to touch phone and Apple phone and the iPhone Pro Max 16. That's what Marilyn and I carry. The difference between a Pro and a Pro Max is the size of the screen. It's a 1/2 inch more diagonal. So somewhere in here there's tools, how to get in it. They should have something called a teardown. This is all specification stuff. We want to get inside this baby. I guess let's do teardown. It's worth the wait, folks. The teardown come up on anything. I guess I have to press enter. There we go. This is case Xbox teardown. No, we want teardown. Typing in some stuff here on the search engine. All right, so here's the teardown right here. So what they do is they step by step if you can see, they show you what. There's a little screwdriver. They sell the screwdrivers. You can, if you're crazy enough to try this. So I'm always interested in what's inside, one of those kind of people. So, most of the electronics, other than, the camera, see, like here's a camera module. I'm doing a little expando, reverse pinch. That's the camera with the lens. It's all sandwiched in between these two boards. There's the lens covers from the phone case. And there's the camera module that they lifted out of it. So now you can see the two spots where the camera board was. And now here's a little multi. You can slip this. That's a plug with all these little prongs all around it. Oh my God, that's why you don't want to do what they're doing. Because you don't pull that plug out right, and you bend one of those pins, and every one of those pins is needed. It's not decoration. But you can see the big black battery, which somewhere in there would tell you the milliampere rating of that battery, which heck with it. But that's almost the entire electronics for the entire phone. The storage, the modem, everything is in between his thumb and his forefinger. And now he has this little probe that he's poking at that plug to detach it. So there you can, the circuit boards for the iPhone are right there. That's it. Everything else is display and the screen itself. They do an X-ray of it. There's a little coil of wire right there, so that you can, put your phone on like a charging base, and it will interface with that coil and send the charging signal into the thing, and it'll load up this battery. And, so that is the inside of an iPhone. Not very exciting. Everything is all on that board right there. Except for these are like connectors, and so here's two of the cameras, and that's the middle camera, and that's the other two. That's it. So anyway, they have this iFixit. You can see it up on the very top of your screen. It's just getting covered up with my little banner up there. Welcome to Jim Wilson's Live Simulcast. This is being broadcast simultaneously by YouTube Live and Facebook Live. Every time I have lunch or dinner with Bill Morris, he says, "Now when do you do your broadcast?" I said, 9 a.m. every day. Be there or be square. He says, "Well, what do you talk about?" I said, "Well, the theme of the show is whatever comes to mind." "Well, how do you start?" And I say, "Hello, everybody." "Good morning, Vietnam." No. Remember Robin Williams? Yeah. What a show that was. So, and I was telling Bill last night about this app. I'm going to go find it for you right now, because he may be watching. So I'm going to go to the App Store. You can see right in the middle, I'm jiggling the screen here. See, I'm over here on this side, always on the right of middle, because you can see the middle is right there. And there's a seam that goes up and down. And I haven't tricked. But the software I have called eCam Live. No connection financially to Jimmy, other than the fact that I pay them a monthly fee to use their software on my magnificent MacBook Pro, which is a computer. This thing I'm dealing with here, this is an iPad. Yeah, this thing slips right off. Look how skinny that boy is. Yeah, it's all battery and screen. And it's a little tiny thing, that sliver you saw on the phone, that's what's in the middle of the iPad, surrounded by batteries and screen. I mean, it's crazy. The microelectronics, And this iPad is 1 gigabyte of storage and the fastest chip, and it's got the modem. It's got its own digital line. So if I'm out and about, I don't have to hook into someone's Wi-Fi. I can it'll operate just like your iPhone does. Goes through the cellular system, which is a very secure system, by the way. Anyway, so we're here, and you can see right below the first two cheerleaders in that picture. That's on field, FAU Stadium. There you go. There we go. November 30th, 2019. Standing with the mascot. They probably are married and have 3 children. Anyway, the App Store, I'm going to touch. There's that blue icon with 3 crayons looking like an A. Just put my finger right on top of that. And now we are in the App Store, the Apple App Store. So I'm going to, over here, in the little magnifying glass on the very top right, I'm going to press that with a search engine, because we don't want to look at all this stuff. We want to type in here FLIPBOARD. I'm ducking away to see the keyboard on the iPad. There you go, Flipboard. I'm going to touch that right there. And you see that red thing that looks like a F. I'm going to touch that. So it says open here. Because I already have it on my, in this iPad. And I've already downloaded it. I've been using it for years. See, it says age 12 plus years old. Well, that's Jimmy. I've been in it for 12 years. Yeah. Good friend of mine that is a restaurant. He opens restaurants for companies. Tony Figarelli. He sends me an email. He says, Jimmy, you gotta, he knows I'm a technology crazy person. He says, you gotta get this app called Flipboard. There it is right there, Flipboard. The social magazine. So what it is, it's really, really neat. It's definitely a 5-star guy. Submit. Yeah. You can write. I probably wrote an article about it somewhere in here. So, what you do is, what kind of things. I'm talking to you guys now. So, what does this app? What does Flipboard do for you? It uses the internet to go get information. Okay. So, what is it going to get? Well, so in this hand over here, we have all the periodicals. And you don't have to think of all of them at all one time. But let's just take, I like to read Scientific American, of course. I like to read Popular Electronics. I like to read aviation magazines. So, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Palm Beach Post, the Miami Herald, the Boca News, the Tampa Tribune, the Orlando Sun-Sentinel. Let's just take those. So those are all if I were to, get deliveries of magazines or newspapers every day, or wherever often they publish, this is what's in this hand. Now in this hand, you tell Flipboard what kind of news do you want to read about. I want to read about sporting news. I want to read world events, U.S. politics, world politics, articles about aviation. I trained as a private pilot a long time ago. Weather, geography, U.S. news. So that's the type of articles I want to read, and this is the sources that I like to get it from. And what Flipboard does is it mashes both those together, and it gets all that information from the internet, like instantly, constantly updating. Flipboard is in your system, and it is getting the information all day long and all night long. And you don't have to do anything except if you see the very bottom, you see that white T for Tesla? You just follow that down, and you see that red F? You touch that button right there, and there's my Flipboard. And as a cover, you can see that is flashing in front of you from NPR. I apparently listed that as one of the sources. And, so here's some restaurants are ditching seed oils. It could be costing them. So there's the article. Jimmy Kimmel reveals the number one Trump demand that truly captures him. And it goes through, and it just flips through all these articles, like if it was the front cover of a magazine. But it's a constant display. So if you have your, an old iPad hanging up over here, like I have this one, it's constantly going through the articles over here. I have it on this one also. And then when you're ready to read an article, there you go, I'm going to save that. iPhone 17 rumors. Anyway, so you can flip it to read it. And then the upper left corner, you touch that. And now here's all the articles. And you can just flip and you go through all these articles. And they're all full articles written by, like you can see here, CCCP. New images of Soviet Venus lander is going to fall back to Earth because the device failed to get to Venus, apparently. There's something wrong with its flight path. And now it's coming back to Earth tomorrow, actually, I think. Soon to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. Don't know exactly where yet, but they're tracking it, and they know it's made just some giant goofy orbit, and it's coming back around and going to be striking the Earth's atmosphere sometime, I think, tomorrow. It's either tomorrow or next week, anyway. So I'm going to touch on that article. And now here's the article. And you can, the former Soviet Union's Cosmos 482 was lofted back in 1972, but, but it didn't happen. I got that wrong. I guess it's next week. May 10th, plus or minus 2.2 days. Because they're not sure of the exact speed and, where the angle of the attack on the Earth's atmosphere and all that. Anyway, so they've been tracking this sucker. So on May 2nd, plus or minus 2 days, it's going to come back and be a fireball. And somewhere in this article, it's going to or has already told us how big it is. Or here's a tracking image they have, June 26th of 2014. So, you got these astronomers, they look and they see this stuff. This is one of the mock-up of the Venus 7 probe. That's interesting. Looks like a coffee cup. Yeah. So anyway, that's what Flipboard does. Here's a story here. Trump calls on Fed once again to lower the interest rates. Gosh darn it. He says he's not going to fire the Fed chairman. He's got 1 year left on his. I think they get hired into like a 10-year term, so they're always overlapping into several administrations. Let's see what's going on here with him. So this is let's see. This is coming out of CNBC. Jeff Cox wrote this. So this is a picture that came out of that article. Jerome Powell. So this is a great way. So instead of having to, how you sit there with a newspaper and you page to page to find an article that interests you. Well, this does it for you. But it hits all the news agencies you want to deal with and all the types of articles you want to read about, and it picks them out for you. And then all you got to do here is just flip through, and these are all flipping through the sources that you're interested in reading from and the types of articles you want to read about. And there's the only order to these stories is when they come out. You can see in this top story over here, this came out 3 hours ago. But that's how fast this article, this China mulls over overtures. Whoops. So here's this article. China says it's considering trade talks. That's a good idea. Since I got 145% tariff on everything. Can you believe it? That'll get you to the table. I read an article, excuse me, 6 or 8 months ago, a year ago, whatever, and it was about Walmart, and they said that 85% of everything that's in Walmart is made in China. Isn't that amazing? 85%. So they don't get to, and all that stuff, guess what, comes into these. These are, look at them stacked up. These are tractor trailer, the back end of a tractor trailer. These containers are, a tractor trailer hooks right up to that, and you can see right here in the background, there's a truck. You can see how big, look how they're stacked. These things are stacked up. They look like, little tiny bricks that, when your kid plays, with this box of little bricks. No, these are tractor trailers. Every one of those things are stuffed with cardboard cartons of stuff made, coming in from countries all over the world, but mostly a lot of the stuff is made in China, shipped from China across on these big tanker cars, and these cranes over there, they lift it right off those big water ships that hold like 30 or 40,000 of these these containers. I mean, there could be cars in there. It's amazing what comes across, the Pacific Ocean over to Southern California, and then gets trucked all over the United States. Things from Europe come over the Atlantic Ocean. Things from Japan, China, and so forth. Korea, South Korea. They come through the Pacific, go into the port of Los Angeles. So that's that's Flipboard. If you have, I don't know if Flipboard is, it's an app. An app is, an abbreviation for application. When I grew up, we used to call it a computer program. So since we have so many computer programs, and that is so difficult to say, computer program, we call it an application software. And then they abbreviated that to an app. So where do you get Flipboard? From the App Store. You got all these acronym names. So there you see, App Store, right there. APP Store. There's the symbol right there for Facebook. You can see that. There's that little television screen, YouTube. And remember, this is a simulcast on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. We have over 450 of these little conversations. So I like to liken this to, people ask questions and comes up over here on another screen. So I just glance over there to see what's going on. Consider this a conversation like we're at Denny's right now. And you can hear the background music coming from the speakers above. And what is that? That is the Epidemic Sound Instrumental. Yeah, my favorite source of my background music. It is royalty free, so I can, I can rebroadcast it as background music without having to get a letter from their attorneys saying that's okay to use their sound. It's a 3-hour can you believe it? A 3-hour soundtrack. It's like 3 hours and 2 minutes for some reason. And it just plays on and on. It has all these different versions of the same kind of thing you're hearing. It's totally instrumental, so you're not competing with someone else talking when I'm trying to talk over them. I can adjust on my trusty little soundboard over here. It's kind of like out of view. It's right down here. I can bend this down for you. Doop. Yeah, there's my soundboard right here. So I can turn Epidemic up or down, and I can turn 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can turn me up and down. That's my source for my music. Of course, I turn that down to that spot right there. There's like little lines on the little graphic thing here. So that's where I set that, so it doesn't compete too much with stuff. We're streaming, right? This is a streaming broadcast, which means that there are bits going through a pipe, an electronic pipe that's connected to YouTube Live, to my handle, at FAU for You. And the same thing with Facebook Live. Excuse me, I just had to cough and sneeze. I've been talking too much. So, we're at Denny's. We're listening. You can hear the background music. So the reason why I have background music is so I can take a breath. And at least you hear something going on here. You know. And what's going on here is Epidemic Sound Instrumental. You can go to YouTube Music, and you can go in their search engine, Epidemic Sound Instrumental Music without copyright. Yep. I've been using it ever since I've been doing this. Started this about 3 years ago. Every day at 9 a.m., weather permitting. And in my case, the weather is the internet. Sometimes it gets a little cranky. And I have to have a signal of I have an app, of course. And it's over, I have to go full screen. Producers, go full screen on that. There we go. So now you can see me jiggling. So now the only thing you see, you don't see me anymore. Of course, we can add me, and then we can do this. So I'm up here in this corner up here. See me moving my hands. You can see the top of my. I need to bring this back up again. Whoop! There we go. And we can see the time of day right there. See, it's 10:09. If you have a 10 o'clock appointment, you're late. If you're listening to Jimmy. So we're at Denny's and we're having a cup of coffee. Or at Sequela, famous little coffee, breakfast, lunch. I think they used to have dinner there. It's by 9 o'clock, it's chairs on the tables, so to speak. They start dinner at 5, and by 7 o'clock, they basically got the last orders in. I think I've been to dinner there one time. It's okay, You want a nice piece of salmon, that's the place to go. Or whatever other fishes they catch. I'm very picky. About where I want to go. And it's not, to me, the number one thing is, when you get inside, is it a place, do you like the place? Some places are too busy, they're too dark, they're too bright, they're too, whatever, it's too compressed. Or, some of these restaurants, they pack the tables so tight that, the wait staff is constantly tripping over the legs of your chairs, I mean, there were dishes, coming out of the kitchen, and then these waiters are carrying this stuff, and you could see the dishes like twirling on the tray, and it's over your head about 6 feet. I mean, if one of them came down, it would damage your head, or it would come down on you. Oh, it'd be a mess, And they were constantly tripping, So I know that the table, I actually picked the table. It's a nice table. But I didn't realize that big wide corridor going, behind me was leading to the kitchen. I didn't know. I actually didn't look down that corridor. But it's a real wide corridor. So you could have waiters coming and going, and they wouldn't crash into each other. But, this thing where they hold a tray, on one hand, and they're flopping through, someone trips them and that's, oh boy, what a mess that would be. So there's an icon over here. The reason why I went to full screen here is there's icon right over in the very corner, top left corner. Not the very top, but right where you see the big icons. You see the App Store. We touched on that one. One more to the left, Safari. And one more to the left, Speed Test. Bingo. This is the first thing I do in the morning. You are connected to the internet. That you got to look for that, and then it turns green. That's important. Yeah. So that's the old internet connection. There we go. So now look at that. It pinned. You see that little graphic. Oops, we got to go full screen on that. Yeah, so you can see the graphic. 352 megabits. That's million bits per second. Now this is what's important for me. The upload speed. See, 46, 48, 49, 50, 49, 49.4. That's a million bits per second up. So we're streaming to you. So from this perspective, it's the upload speed that we're riding on that bandwagon. Now, when we went to the App Store and we looked at that content, that was coming down. That's what that 357 number is. That's supposed to be 1,000. It's I've never been to 1,000. I'm actually paying for 2,000. So you divide it, 2,000 by 2, you get 1,000. Well, now we got to divide that by 3 again. So we're getting 1/6 of what we're supposed to be getting. I'm paying for 2,000 bits per second down, and I'm paying for 60 megabits per second up, and I'm getting 50 instead of 60. So we'll give them, and then here's a little bar chart on what we. Let's give them a 6 out of 10 rating. Thank you very much. Anyway, so get rid of that speed test. So I do that first. Bill was saying, well, what do you do? How do you get all this? What are you going to talk about? Well, the first thing I'm doing, so what I do is, honestly, I go through Flipboard and I pick out stories that are interesting to me. And one of them is right here. We just saw this. Maybe you captured when you saw. I did a print screen of the front. See, there's your F for Flipboard, and then you can see the words "flip" over here on the right side. iPhone 17 rumors. From a slim Air model to a new camera design, and of course, those are the 3 classic cameras, which I have on my phone. This is, I don't know what that picture is of, but see, now we can go to, anyway, so this is how I decide what I'm going to talk about, is I see these headlines, and then I keep going through Flipboard. Marco Rubio. So these are print screens of basically the headline stories that are all contained in the Flipboard. Once you've flipped into it. And here's one of the articles. This picture was taken by Getty Images. They've got tens of millions, hundreds of millions of photos. I've got a bunch of photos on my iPad. I'll show you right now. We're going to go to settings. Down here, the very lower left-hand corner there. See that little gray gear wheel? Don't touch that. And then you see this menu here. So there's Jim Wilson. There's, I've got this on and that off, and I got my virtual private network on. We'll talk about that one day. And I'm going to touch over here on the right side. About. Going to hit about. So there's the model number, the serial number. My Apple Care Plus renews on May 23rd. Apparently the 23rd of every month. They hit me for about $11.50 or something. Apple Care Plus, which means no matter what happens, you get taken care of. I can touch on that. I have accident damage, hardware service, express replacement. These are all things. And then right underneath that says Apple support. And I can hit the word open, which I'm not going to, but what the hell? Open. It says, what can we do for you? It's JW 13-inch iPad. This iPad. Here's all the other devices that are known to Jimmy or Marilyn. Anyway, so that's the. We're gonna go back to. I wanted to show you. Go back. I have 1 terabyte of storage. See that 1 TB? I have 497 applications on my iPad. It should be like tops 100. But you know what? When I read about a new app, I'll load it into the system here, and I'll use it for a day or 2 or 10, and then write a story about it maybe. And sometimes I forget to delete it, or I like it enough where I'll come back to it and delete it or save it later. So it's on the system, so it's essentially saved. You've got to now take it out of there. Anyway, so I've got 497 apps. I probably use 50 of them, and I have 1 terabyte of storage capacity. That's under the word capacity. That's storage capacity. And I have 329 gigabytes available of that 1 terabyte. So that's about as skinny as I like to have it. So the next device, whenever I get a new iPad, I'm going to up that to 2. If they offer 2 terabytes, I will increase that. I mean, years ago with the iPhones, it started out at 64 gigabyte, then it went to 128, and then it went to 256, then 512, and then a terabyte, and now 2 terabytes. It seems like every 3 years or so you double it, So that's onboard storage. And look down here further. Look at the top of the list. Photos, 100,840. So there's 100,000 images on this iPad. Yep. And that's synced all around to all the other iPads. Because I have that syncing on. Synchronization. Yeah. So on every one of these other devices, there's 100,000 pictures floating around on those too. So if I do a print screen, which basically creates an image, the print screen goes to all the other devices I have. This one is hooked up to this connection so you can see it. I'm going to, let's see, am I in here? So I'm going to add me, and I'm in the corner, and I'm going to bring me down to like half a full screen. This is all part of the application. Click that. There we go. So now like I'm going to say 3 months ago, I tried out this new screen. It's only new to me. We're back here. This crop split screen. If I hit that again, see now you see a full screen mode of me here. But you see they have these black borders and a black border around this. So there's a lot of black borders. So I figured, well, let's go to the system here and do the crop split screen again. There we go. See, now there's no black borders. It gets trimmed, so it's a cropping of this image. But who cares? You're only seeing sideways of Jimmy anyway. Because I can't get this camera bent around enough. And then, of course, you can't see all these other goodies, which is more important than looking at my ear. And since I'm sitting at a desk, so I don't have the frontal face of the iPad Pro on, because that would scare you to death probably. So we don't go there. You can look at my hands for the time being and just know that there's someone alive. There's a mother alive. Here's a nice app right here. This 9 to 5 Mac. It's up in this corner, right up in that corner right there. And this is good. It gets updated every couple hours. Tim Cook, he's CEO of a company that has a market valuation of just under $4 trillion. I think it's 3.8 trillion. What does that mean? They call, the investment bankers call that the market capitalization. What is the market capitalization of your company? And so, CEOs know the answer to that question. And basically the way they calculate it, and when you look at the profile of a company, one of the line items that they have on there is market capitalization. You take the number of shares outstanding times the current share price. Just multiply the two, and you get 3.8 trillion. That's the answer for Apple. So it's I think it is the most valuable company, period. I think globally. Traditionally, going back, 4 or 5 years ago, let's say, definitely less than 10 years ago. But let's just say, if I had to pluck a 2-year window, it would be 4 or 5 years ago. It used to be like oil companies, because they would, they have these big big cylinders of petroleum, big cylinders of gasoline, diesel fuel. Number 2 diesel fuel is basically airy. It's trying to think of the right terminology. These ground-based cylinders, where the head of the cylinder goes up and down, big, huge cylinders, and they pump them up full of refined petroleum products. Well, someone owns that, So it could be Exxon Oil Company owns all that, until it gets pumped into, a 7-Eleven gasoline place by the tank cars. If you just add up, if you add up all the petroleum product that's pumped into, these fleets of mobile distribution trucks, tanker car, they show up at a gas station and they fill up subterranean tanks full of gasoline. If you go to an airport, but they have big cylinders underground And what are they from? It's copper. Copper cable. Yeah. And the copper pipe pumps it out of there and puts it in underground into the gas station's tanks. If you add up all the, and over the days, weeks, and months, the amount of petroleum product that's pumped out of, the 7-Eleven, with the 1200 block of Palmetto Park Road. That's, our house is between the 9th and the 12th. It's like 4 streets worth of cars, tanks, stored petroleum. So that's what Riviera anyway, let's get back to Tim Cook. So he's thanking in this this it looks like at 5:55 a.m. Pacific time. Remember, there you got to add 3 hours, so that's like 8. It was about 9 o'clock this morning. He was probably on somebody's show doing a little. Let's see who wrote this article and everything. Go back to the bottom here. Oh, I can't tell. Anyway, so he went on there and basically said, as a 3.8 circling back to the 3.8 trillion. Yeah, he was making remarks. Hey, yeah, this Trump guy, they know each other. They throw around these political people, they throw around these vocabulary words like friend. This man's been my friend. Now, to me, a personal friend is, you eat dinner with them, you have lunch with them, you see them, 2 or 3 times a week or whatever. These guys see each other, electronically. Maybe never have met. You're familiar with your profile pictures as it comes across some video screen. Anyway, apparently, the Apple CEO Tim Cook appears virtually at a gathering of business executives this week to celebrate President Trump's first 100 days in office. And, for so apparently Tim Cook had a few hours that he could spend, or minutes, to tell this gathering that he says, I want to take a moment. I wanna, W-A-N-N-A, that's a new word. I want to take a moment to recognize President Trump's focus on domestic semiconductor manufacturing. So this is a video to text formatted story where you talk and then the letters just appear on the screen. It's pretty amazing, the software that can be written, and when you write in a computer language program, so and then that file then gets loaded into another application called Compile, and then and you tell it where to put it and all that stuff, and then the system then generates machine language, which the iPad knows how to discern machine language. It doesn't understand COBOL programming or whatever software application you've learned to use in your life cycle while on the air. And machine language would look like a whole bunch of hexadecimal codes. It wouldn't be intelligible because each character has different meanings or uses depending on whether it's a body of information. So now you can see why I put my seasoning very cautiously. Anyway, so Tim Cook, he was talking about how he appreciates the fact that Trump is focusing on getting things made in the USA. You know, come on, we used to make everything here, and over the years, you know, these other countries, they're looking after their populations, and they want to get them to work. So, you know, 80% of the manufacturing that we did in this country is now being done in China. Probably better, faster, and so forth. You know, that's a temporary thing. Because you know, the amount of workforce that you have in a country depends on, you know, your senior trade representatives, like President of the United States. He can have a huge impact on what gets manufactured in the United States. You know, do they have plants and equipment in those plants that are serviceable inside our country, or someone will give it to you and you just landed all this commercial space. Let me ask Marilyn, the knower of all things, where she would store that information. Anyway, I've been floating around here for an hour and a half, and I think it's time for you all to get to work. I showed you Flipboard. That's something, if there's any one thing I'd like you to get on your system, it's Flipboard. And the other thing is for a device on your wrist, get yourself an Apple Watch. Particularly if you're over 50, you know, and let's put it this way, if you have a cardiologist, if you know what a cardiologist is, a cardiologist is a person that is studying, that studies and is knowledgeable about cardiology. What is cardiology? Cardiology has to do with your heart and your circulatory system in your body. That's what a cardiologist is very good at. He knows about pulmonology. So what's that? That's this little hole near your body. That's your thoracic cavity. And your heart is inside there. And your cardiologist. So if you have a cardiologist, then and it's time for you to have an Apple Watch, because the Apple Watch is one of the instruments du jour, the instrument of the day. It saved my penny. I made, I don't know how I would have reacted to a 200 over 100. When you do the cuff, your blood pressure, 200 over 100, that's not good. So 200 is when your heart beats, bam, beat, but it was beating, at a faster than normal rate. Heart rate was about 130, 40. Now you're sitting around watching the news. Your blood pressure shouldn't be at 750. Marilyn is insisting that I eat my dinner before I start floating around the restaurant talking to other people. Yeah, I'm a talker. Media apps. Yeah. Talking about the Apple Watch and the utility, but you know what? On the inside of the Apple Watch, I've just taken it off, holding up to the camera. You see all those little doodads that are inside the back. When you put it on, it sits on the top of my wrist. That's upside down. Right side up. I'm a lefty, so I have my watch on the right hand. That's the put in my secret password. So you can see that blue bar, that green bar tells me I have 170 miles worth of range in our Tesla car. Pops up on the watch. It's part of one of those complications. And I can see the time on the top, 10:40 a.m. It's May 2nd. Yep. Oh boy. So I need to get on with my morning duties. Kitchen's all cleaned up from the mess I made last night. I know what kind of lunch I'm going to have. I had linguine with clams at Mia Rosebud. Oh my God. That is such a magnificent place. 150 East Palmetto Park Road, ground floor of the Bank of America building. Yep. Bill Morris used to manage that building. They took out all the asbestos, floor by floor. Tenants had to move out. They sealed off the floor, and they had to remove every smidgen of asbestos because we decided that asbestos, those little pieces, if you were to get up in the inside above the ceiling and get some of that insulation material that was spritzed on the underside of every slab of every floor of every building. Yeah, well, it's a big job. It's probably easier to build the whole, just knock it down and start over again. It doesn't quite make that much sense. Yeah. So, Mia Rosebud, a wonderful dining spot. So, the reason why I brought that up is I had linguine with clams, which is really very nicely done there. But you need 2 tureens of the sauce, They serve you, the pasta and the clams, and then they pour some portion of a tureen of the sauce, in the bowl once it's at tableside. But you need 2 tureens, because the first tureen gets absorbed by the al dente pasta. It's linguine with the clams and the clam sauce, which is, magnificently made. Just the right amount of garlic. Yeah, sauteed garlic in like olive oil, and then they add clam juice and usually a little chicken broth, and they stir it around. There could be some sauteed onions in there, and almost like a consommé. Anyway, that goes on, in the linguine with clams. Yeah. But you need 2 tureens. So just because it's not particular to that restaurant, I ordered, extra clam juice all the time when I get linguine with clams. And it is spectacular. So I have leftover linguine with clams. So I took all the clams out of the clam shells, left the clam shells, for Mia Rosebud to dispose of, and so I had this whole plate load of. I happen to have, for your pleasure, where there it is. That's my linguine with clam. That's my, see right there. It says Boca, and the very top it says Boca Raton. Well, I can just lift up on the picture. It should say 6:55 p.m. See that? That's when that was served. 6:55 p.m. Yeah. So I had just put my little fork down there. Now the nice thing about taking a picture is I'm going to lift up, and then there is the EXIF data, EXIF data. This is the last little tidbit before I run off to get something to eat. So you see right here, there's the GPS data is collected inside the iPhone and placed in the EXIF data of the photograph as soon as you snap the button. So it tells you the day, the date, the exact time, and it's to the hundredth of a second, although this display is not showing, decimal places of seconds. It's just 6:55. But I can touch the little miniature picture, next to the word Boca Raton right here. There you go. And then I can hit so you can see Federal Highway. It's just east of Federal Highway. Traveling on Palmetto Park Road. And I can hit this little map thingy and hit satellite and hit 3D, and I do this. Yeah, look at that. And I rotate this around. There you go. A little more. So we're sitting at this outdoor covered patio area of the restaurant. There's Federal Highway, and just down here's the buildings. Yeah, and I live one building over, right? Let's see if I got the right building here. Yeah, that's it. I am I'm three buildings south, of this restaurant. Of course, we drove to it. Yeah. I walked 4 blocks, I'd rather. So I can walk right down this street, end up right in the front door of my building. I lean over, I'm on the 8th floor of this building, right in the middle of your screen right here, with those barrel tile roofs over some of it. I'm rotating around so you can see my front door balcony. It's right there. This is like flying in a drone. You look right down at the street from the building. I can go right down there. 1, 2, and yeah. Wow, I'm getting dizzy. Look at this. There you go. There's where we took the picture, and it shows exactly where you were. Unbelievable. There's a little distortion as to the EXIF data pointing out the right coordinates for that picture. That's how I got there. The EXIF data, which I'm going to X out of because I'm getting back to the picture. That's going to be my lunch. Now, I don't have the clamshells because I emptied out the clams, but I have the linguine, and I'm sure all the sauce is soaked up into the pasta. So I'm gonna warm up about 6 ounces of chicken broth. I have Swanson chicken broth in a box, which I opened up last night, and I'm going to add about 6 or 8 ounces of warmed up chicken broth and pour it in this pasta and mix it around, and then put it in the microwave and warm it up, and it will taste exactly as it did last night, because one of the components generally of the clam sauce is chicken broth and clam juice. Sauteed garlic, olive oil. Well, the sauteed garlic flavor and the olive oil is all mixed around in the leftover pasta. So that'll make a nice little lunch. I'm going to have a little early lunch, late breakfast. Yeah, because this show is over. We have covered enough topics for today, and it's time for us to get on with the rest of our day. For the people come and go out of this little show. It is actually it is streaming live. Exactly. People jump right in the middle of the show because it's already started. But it's also recorded, so you could go to YouTube Live anytime during the day and type in the handle FAU for you, which is my handle. It's not connected with FA, Florida Atlantic University at all. It's just Jimmy. I just strung those 3 letters together. FAU for you. Yes, we are for you. A lot of people have tried to get that call sign from me. Yeah. But I started teaching there 23 years ago. And when the internet was when it was just invented by Al Gore, former Vice President of the United States, yeah. Didn't he say he invented the internet? I don't think so. I don't know where these guys come up with this stuff. Look at this dog. Now, is this dog... This is an actual unstaged... This is our son Brennan's bed. And this dog likes to pretend he's a person. He's a sizable dog, as you can see. When he's stretched out like that, he's probably 4.5 feet long. You know, got his little, this is big paws, I'll tell you. Yeah. He's got himself in the lap of luxury there. He's got his head on a pillow. Got a pillow behind him. Got his little blankie covering his little belly. Yeah. Yeah, we're cat people at the moment. We had miniature pinchers for their life cycle, and now we've got a couple of cats. I'm looking for. Do I have cat pictures in here? How could I not have cat? Of course, I have cat pictures. There's one. Little Kino is taking a nap next to me. Let's snap his whiskers. I was actually trying to get his little nose. These little guys. They keep themselves clean, I can tell you that. Yeah. Anywho. 100,000 photos, remember? So these photos, oh, here's yours truly. There's Marilyn. She's standing right in the middle of the street on getting ready for the 55th annual parade, you know, through Del Rey. She's right on the avenue, right on the bridge, standing on the grating that's on the bridge. And I'm east of her, probably a mile away. I telephotoed as long as my lens would telephoto, and there she is. She's looking at me saying, what is that guy doing all the way over here? He's supposed to be at my side. Well, I was taking pictures of a different part of the parade that year, a few years ago. So maybe, let's see, this is Friday, Saturday. I may be talking to you tomorrow morning. And we'll talk about maybe what. I know a couple of the rumors that are coming out on this iPhone 17 that'll be announced on sometime in September, but we got friends in the business, and I got some rumors on. They have two cameras in this phone that are 45 million pixels each, as far as digital resolution, digital detail. 45 million pixels. That's a lot of pixels. Your big screen TV that's hanging on your wall, that's about 2.1 million pixels, or 3 million pixels. There's two different. If you have HD TV or you have ultra high definition TV, it's 3 million pixels, which is 2 million pixels across. About 1.5 million pixels up and down. Multiply one by the other, you get about 3.2 million pixels. That's the resolution of a big screen TV in high definition, which means when you look at that screen and you see this golf event, you can count the blades of grass. Well, this phone, in an iPhone, the image resolution is 45 million pixels. That's like crazy. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. And in the meantime, since you see this clock right here, which we can touch it, and we can expand it a little bit. See, that says 1 hour, 56 minutes, and 18 seconds. Yeah. That's how long I've been yapping and dapping here. So I'm yapping dapping enough. I've been sitting here at Sequela, and I got a square butt. I've been sitting. So we're going to be done. So I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to do, because the production people tell me that I got to go full screen on the image, and then I have to be full screen on that right there, because that's the day. And then I turn the music up to full, and I stop talking and turn the mic off. So see you tomorrow. Have a great day.